Okay, here we go. Um, Now I know as it's 7 in the morning. I know I can't. I mean, not that I can't. I'll try, but because I'll try because obviously it's part of who I am to be as energetic as possible to watch any of these races or sports, whether it's the motorsport or the footballs. But the football's football. It's early. It's so early in the morning, so I'm probably not 100% awake. But hopefully I'll be all right. But anyway, okay, enough of that talk. We're live. Welcome to round three of the Formula One World Championship, qualifying here at Albert Park in Australia. And can I just say, I'm delighted we're back here because it's been a long while. It's been a long while since we were last here. The last time we were at Albert Park was 2019, a race which was dominated by Valtteri Bottas. And here is the home star, Daniel Ricardo. I'll tell you what, it'd be brilliant for him to be back at his home track here. First time since 2019, of course. No, what I was going to say was there has been some track updates. There has been some track changes here at Melbourne. Where turns 9 and 10 are, where the Clark curve is, used to be a huge braking zone. You brake and then you go right. Instead, you go so much faster like that, going towards turns 10 and 11. And the other one that the other turn that's made a few changes is turn 13 at the Ascari curve, which the corner looks more wide, not more wide, more squared for the racers to overtake. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting qualifying. It's going to be a very interesting qualifying, especially that we haven't been at Australia since 2019. And I'll tell you what, this should be a very interesting one indeed. One of the Hasses comes out. One of the Hasses makes their way out. But no, Q1's going to be underway. Here is Carlos Sainz. In fact, both Ferraris come out, Leclerc and Sainz. We've got 17 and a half minutes of Q1 here. Carlos Sainz was fastest in FP1, while his teammate and championship leader was fastest in FP2. Here's Lance Stroll in the Aston Martin, who'll surely be making his way out some point soon. But I'll tell you what, I'd say the team to watch, in all honesty, is McLaren. Because Lando was fastest in FP3. And this is the strongest I feel McLaren have looked since the start of the season. So can they pull that off and make an impression at least with qualifying today? Also, as we just seen there, as I listen to Ted in the background, also, as we see there, he's back. He's back. Sebastian Vettel is back. And I'll tell you what, it's brilliant that he is back after 2 races being absent due to COVID. The 4-time world champion is back at Albert Park here for his debut race of 2022. Obviously not his debut race in general. Of course, Seb's been racing since 2007, of course. But yeah, no, it is Vettel's first race of the year. So how can he do today? He was 13th He was 13th in FP1. And then didn't have a time in FP2. And rock bottom in FP3. So it hasn't particularly looked Seb's way at all this weekend so far. That could all change though in qualifying. So just over 15 minutes to go here for Q1. And yeah, like Martin Brundle's just said, no more chicane at Clark Curve at turns 9 and 10. Mick Schumacher sets a time of 1:21.125. We're on board one of the Ferraris here. We're going into Prost corner at turn 15. Into the final corner of the circuit at turn 16. Across the start finish straight. Already into the 119, Charles Leclerc. Meanwhile, we have a yellow flag, although that has already been cleared. So Leclerc's already fastest, but we're on board with the Bristol star, Lando Norris. He had a purple sector in sector 1. I think Lando's looked better than all year so far. 5th in FP1, 8th in FP2, fastest in FP3. And with the Mercedes powered, yeah, look at that, second fastest. Just behind Leclerc, Lando Norris, but all the Mercedes engine cars have struggled so far this year, and McLaren, however, are looking pretty good this weekend. So now they've got to convert it into qualifying, and if they do, it'll be brilliant to see. Because it would be brilliant to see McLaren back up there at the top, battling for the lead, and obviously for today's case scenario, pole position. Is the reigning world champion, Max Verstappen. Our last race winner in Saudi Arabia, 3rd in the championship on 25 points, 20 points behind the championship leader, Charles Leclerc. Verstappen was on the podium here, of course, in 2019 in 3rd place, as Carlos Sainz goes fastest, a 1:19.179 for him. Max doesn't go as fast as the 2 Ferraris. Max Verstappen 3rd fastest overall, while here's his teammate Sergio Perez, who splits the 2 Ferraris. In 2nd place then for the time being, Sergio Perez, splitting the 2 Ferraris of Sainz and Leclerc, on board with Nicholas Latifi. Just overcooks it there slightly. Yeah, he overcooks it there, Latifi. Luckily, he didn't go into the wall, as Martin was just saying. And here is your last race winner here in Australia, Bottas. So the yellow flag's been cleared. Yep. That's Albert Park, but the last pole sitter was, of course, Lewis Hamilton. Of course, obviously, back in 2019. That is the last time I've raced here. Like I said, it is good to be back in Melbourne. It may not be one of my favourite tracks, but it's not one of my least favourite tracks either. And also, it's been in the sports for ages. I've seen it on the Grand Prix calendar of Formula One ever since I first watched Formula One way back as a 4-year-old kid with the two Ferrari drivers back then being Michael Schumacher and Rubens Barrichello. Australia has been on the calendar for ages. So yeah, it is good to be back. Here's Fernando Alonso going around the final corner of the circuit. His teammate goes 7th fastest, 1:19.805. Alonso a 1:19.653. Well, he is ahead of both McLarens. He is ahead of both McLaren. This is going to be, like Martin's just said, this is going to be fascinating because Alpine, well, until Bottas's time there, Alonso and Ocon look as fast as the two McLarens there. So the two McLarens have got competition with Alonso and Ocon battling out with them in around those 6th position places. Oh, shit, that didn't make sense. Around that 6th position until Bottas, well, 5th until Bottas makes his new time and is up in 5th place. Verstappen goes 2nd fastest behind Leclerc. So, just over 8.5 minutes left here in Q1 as the Red Bull team and Christian Horner look on, as does Verstappen's race engineer there. And yeah, Verstappen goes 2nd fastest. But yeah, Bottas had a fantastic drive here in 2019. And sorry, that was a belch. Can he repeat? Can he repeat another fantastic performance? I mean, I know there's going to be odds against him on winning the race, that's for sure. But I can't stop belching. It's not fun. Yeah, can he have another fantastic race? That's what I'm trying to say with Bottas. On board with our last pole sitter here, Lewis Hamilton. He has once again, and Mercedes in general, have not had a pretty weekend. Hamilton was 7th fastest in FP1 and then 13th fastest in FP2 with his teammate George faster than him. And then 8th fastest in FP3. So it hasn't looked good for Hamilton, while his teammate was 12th in FP1, 11th in FP2, and 11th once more in FP3. So the McLarens have looked better than the Mercedes, to be honest. Oh, and Hamilton's gone wide. Well, he manages to hold it on, but there was oversteer, but the oversteer is what caused him to ruin that turn for him. As Hamilton goes past the last corner of the circuit, onto the start home finish straight. 11th for Lewis Hamilton. His teammate is 9th. Ricardo goes faster than both Russell and Hamilton. Bottas 5th fastest once again, on board with Verstappen. Yeah, the Mercedes are not looking good. Yes, they should make it out of Q1, but they don't look good at all. Verstappen's had a purple sector 1. And this is him coming into the last corner of the circuit once more. With DRS, here is the reigning world champion. Can he better Leclerc's lap? Yes, he can. By 1/3 of a second is Max Verstappen going faster than Charles Leclerc. This is on board with Lewis Hamilton. This is a replay of his oversteer at turn 11. Sorry, at the Ascari curve. Hang on, here's Sainz's radio. Weird bouncing, according to Carlos Sainz. He slightly went into the gravel there as well, Carlos Sainz. Here's Lance Stroll and the Aston Martin. And his Aston Martin. And there's a turn 1 incident involving Tsunoda and Hamilton that's been noted by the FIA race control as Stroll makes his way out of the pits. 4.5 minutes to go here for Q1. Here's Kevin Magnussen with his Haas. His teammate Mick Schumacher is about to set a time as well. So, Mick Schumacher and Kevin Magnussen and Yuki Tsunoda all about to make more lap times here. As we look at Kevin Magnussen, comes out of turns 11 and 12, makes his way towards the Ascari turn, which he does. Into Stewart goes Kevin Magnussen, flicking it left into Prost, and then right into the final corner of the circuit, using DRS, going slightly onto the grass there. Start home, finish straight. Where does Magnussen go? 14th. And his teammate goes ahead of him up to 13th. Tsunoda goes 12th for the time being. So, with just over 3 minutes to go, the bottom 5 from 20th, from bottom to 16th are Vettel, Stroll, Latifi, Zhou Guanyu and Kevin Magnussen, while Alex Albon's at risk. But poor Sebastian Vettel, he hasn't set a time yet, bless him. Mick Schumacher is the driver at risk once more, though, as Zhou Guanyu goes 14th. Here's Lewis Hamilton, 8th at the moment for the man from Stevenage. 7-time world champion. The Mercedes not looking as good. There is Seb Vettel watching on in his Aston Martin garage, and it doesn't look like. Oh, and Latifi's got another crash, and I think that will be a red flag. Yeah, knew it. And as a tyre comes off Latifi, and for a second qualifying in a row, Latifi has crashed. But no, I was just going to say, I don't think Sebastian Vettel is going to set a lap time in time. And I think both Aston Martins, especially after Latifi's crash there, I think both Aston Martins will not make it out of Q1. What a shame for them. Hopefully tomorrow for them in the race, they will make an impact. We're on board with Lance Stroll for the time being, but no. Nicholas Latifi crashes it was around turns 6 and 7. He was between Whiteford and, where turns 6 and 7 are. But here is Latifi. Oh, well, what is Stroll doing? Yeah, Stroll completely. Hang on, let's hear Lance. I'm sorry, I completely disagree. I completely disagree with Stroll. Latifi was about to. Stroll didn't even look. He was making a lap or anything. However, so Latifi let Stroll through. And then, yeah, it's a complete misunderstanding, as Martin Brundle's just said. The incident's been noted by the FIA. I'd say, yeah, a complete misunderstanding. However, so Latifi goes wide to let Stroll through, but look at the pace Stroll was setting. He didn't look like he was doing a lap at all. And then Latifi looked to go back and make a lap time. Well, not exactly make a lap time, but about to prepare to make a lap time as Vettel looks on. And then Stroll just simply moved over into Latifi. And they're both fuming at each other. Personally, I feel Stroll shouldn't have moved over, but they're going to investigate this. The CEO of Williams, Jos Capito, watches on. I thought Stroll moved over, and that's what's caused Latifi's crash. And there you are, red flag with just over 2 minutes to go here in Q1. And now we're going to wait for all. Mike Crack, the team principal for Aston Martin, watches on. But now we've got to wait all these minutes for Latifi's car to be removed by this JCB digger. This wouldn't have happened if Stroll didn't move over into him, venture right into him. It's as simple as that. Silly, but at the same time, misunderstanding from the pair of them. So what a shame, because what a shame to the end of Q1. So you can see the fans there are just talking about the incident as well. As the spectators watch on. Here's the home star, 11th fastest, Daniel Ricardo. He may not be from Melbourne because he's from Perth in the far west of Australia. But he must be thrilled after 2 long years for not just the whole grid, but for him as well. 2 years Daniel Ricardo has not been at home for a race in Formula One, and he must be more thrilled than anyone on not just the grid, but the whole paddock to be back at his home country. Here is Sebastian Vettel. His helmet there, paying tribute to Ukraine after, obviously, the shocking invasion and war going on over there at the moment between Ukraine and Russia. Yeah, but look at Stroll's pace. Stroll goes through. He doesn't look to prepare himself before a lap time. And then Latifi goes past and Stroll just moves over to the right. And that's what causes the collision. And a tyre falls off Latifi's Williams. One of his back tyres as well. A misunderstanding between 2 Canadians. Either the FIA aren't going to investigate this any further, or Stroll's going to get a penalty. Just look at the way he ventures to the right. Latifi's back left tyre, rear left tyre, as I should say. Just completely collapses because of that incident with Stroll. He looks on in disbelief there. He can't believe it. Stroll can't believe it though either. So, I guess we've got to wait now until we resume Q1 because we still have got 2 minutes. We still have got 2 minutes of Q1 to go. I'm just checking if I've got any comments for the time being, which I haven't. Here's Charles Leclerc, the reigning world champion. No, what am I, for fuck's sake? Verstappen's the reigning world champion. This is another thing I really struggle with in the morning sometimes, is that I get carried away that much and I get the bloody words mixed up. I apologise there. Thankfully, I had no viewers at the time being while saying that. No, championship leader Charles Leclerc currently in the pit lane. For the time being, let's see how long we wait for this red flag to clear up after that crash. So yeah, it's looked miserable. And looking at both teams there, Williams and Aston Martin, they're both not looking good once more, and both teams, excuse me, both teams once again looking like they're having miserable weekends, and it has been a disappointing start to the season for both Williams and Aston Martin. Same with McLaren, but McLaren have looked miles better here in Australia compared to the first 2 rounds of the season. So depends if they can take it into Q2 and especially Q3, if they make it into Q3. But no, it's once again looking disappointing for both Aston Martin and Williams. Let's have a look at the incident once more. I just don't see the point on why Stroll moved over at all. Just listen to Karun a second. Yeah, there will be a discussion with the stewards for definite. Okay, so the FIA Race Control confirms that the session will resume at 4:31 p.m. local time. So that'll be this time, Great British time, 7:31 a.m. But that is good news for the other half of Aston Martin, because that might actually give Sebastian Vettel time to get his car going and at least set a lap time before the end of Q1. So we will be back in 4 minutes' time to wrap up the end of Q1 here. Just over 2 minutes to go here at Albert Park in Australia. But yeah, for the time being though, this is how things stand. It will be. So this is in order of fastest to slowest so far. This qualifying. Going through to Q2 will be so Verstappen, then Perez, then Leclerc and Sainz. So the 2 Red Bulls followed by the 2 Ferraris. Then Alonso, Bottas, Norris, Hamilton, Russell, Ocon. Homestar Daniel Ricardo in 11th, and he's going to lead the pack away when the session restarts. Ricardo, Tsunoda, Gasly, Zhou Guanyu, and Mick Schumacher all going through to Q2 at the moment. And the bottom 5 are Albon, Magnussen, Latifi, and then the 2 Aston Martins of Stroll and Vettel. Here is Lance Stroll. He's on the back of one of the scooters. Here is his teammate. Can he get that car going with just over 2 minutes to go? Hopefully he can, because it'll be brilliant to see Sebastian Vettel set a lap time at least. To try and get out of Q1 into Q2. So 2 minutes to go, in not just for Q1, but also 2 minutes to go until the session restarts. Daniel Ricciardo waves to his home crowd. I mean, listen to the crowd there. They're roaring on Daniel Ricciardo as well. Excuse me, I'm having problems with these belches here this early morning, which isn't helping at all. So we're going to be back. We're going to be going again. 2 AlphaTauris also waiting to go out, as are the 2 Hasses, as is one of the Alpines. So yeah, we restart in a minute and a half now, with Daniel Ricciardo leading the way. Sebastian Vettel gets into his Aston Martin. Will his team and his mechanics get that car working in time to come out? Yeah. 50 seconds to go then. But no, what I did forget to do so far this stream for the time being. Hang on, let's hear Alex Albon. Alex Albon's race engineer telling the London-born Thai driver, elbows out, and Vettel does get his car going. That is brilliant to see. With 22 seconds remaining until the session restarts. Absolutely brilliant that was from the Vettel half of the Aston Martin garage to get Seb's car going. And that is wonderful to see. So, here we go then. We're back going. We're back going once more. What I was going to say for the time being, while waiting for the session to restart then, I'll say it when we have our first advert break between Q1 and Q2. Kevin Magnussen duels with Alex Albon as they both battle out for track position here for Q1 in qualifying. Sebastian Vettel is stuck behind Pierre Gasly. The majority of the cars are going once more. We have just got over a minute left. Look at the jubilation from the Aston Martin garage there, getting Vettel's car working right before the end of qualifying. Honestly, that's wonderful scenes to see. Brilliant work there from the Aston Martin team. So Magnussen, Ricardo, and Albon battle it out together towards the end of Q1. We've got 36 seconds left. Who is gonna be knocked out of Q1? Mick Schumacher is the driver at risk, currently in 15th, just ahead of Albon, Magnussen, Latifi, Stroll and Vettel. So, Ricardo starts his final flying lap. Vettel makes his way past the final corner. Ricardo uses DRS. Ricardo makes his way towards turns 3, into turn 4, and then into Whiteford, into Whitford's turn 5. On board with the home star from Perth in Western Australia. This is his final chance of getting a better flying lap here, Daniel Ricciardo. So, who's going to make it through and who's going to get knocked out? Ricardo's past turn 12 now, going into the Ascari corner any second now, where there has been track changes, of course, there. And, of course, that Clark curve at turn 9. So here we go then. Ricardo goes into Prost corner and then flicking it left into the final corner of the circuit and now onto the start home finish straight. Where is Ricardo going to finish then? Here at the end of Q1. Here we go then, and Ricardo stays in 11th, but he should be safe for the time being. Gasly moves up to 10th and he was 13th. So Tsunoda is 13th. Oh no, Vettel has not done it. It's a decent time, but sadly, that's only 18th for Sebastian Vettel, and he will most likely be knocked out of Q1. So yeah. Vettel is out. Magnussen is out. 17th for him. That's Kevin Magnussen's worst qualifying of the season so far. So that has not looked good for Haas one bit. I feel Haas and McLaren have swapped roles here today in qualifying compared to the first 2 rounds of the season. The McLarens are looking good, or goodish, as I should say, really. While the 2 Haases are struggling, with Mick Schumacher 15th, Magnussen 17th. So, Stroll, Latifi, Vettel, Magnussen, and Albon are out. That is Q1 over. So, we are going to move on to Q2 for the time being. So, before I read out what I was going to read out here for today's live stream, I'm just going to see if... okay, all right then. Okay, so yeah, I was just going to read out, and this is someone else meant to read out at the start of the stream, the standings from all 3 of the free practices in Australia so far this weekend. So in FP1, I'm just going to take my glasses off for a second. In FP1, Sainz was fastest from his teammate Leclerc, Perez 3rd, Verstappen 4th. Oh, excuse me. Oh, Jesus. Yeah, Sainz, Leclerc, Perez, Verstappen. This is the FP1 results. Of course, this, like I said, just a few seconds ago, like I said, this was what I was going to read out at the start of the stream, but I didn't because I got straight into what was happening at qualifying. But no, Sainz was fastest from Leclerc, from Perez, from Verstappen. So once again, Ferrari and Red Bull setting the pace. Norris 5th, Ocon 6th, Hamilton 7th, Ricardo 8th, Alonso 9th, Bottas 10th. Then Tsunoda, Russell, Vettel, Gasly, Zhou Guanyu, Stroll, Albon, Magnussen, Latifi, Mick Schumacher. Yeah, like I've been saying, no, the Haases, this is the worst they've looked all season so far. I know it's early days still. It's still round 3, only round 3 of the 2022 Formula 1 World Championship, but they have not looked good compared to the first 2 races, the first 2 rounds. FP2, fastest was Leclerc, followed by Verstappen, Sainz, Alonso beating Perez to 4th. Checo 5th, Ocon 6th, Bottas 7th, Norris 8th, Gasly 9th, Ricardo 10th. Hang on, let's hear Albon. The drama for the Williams team continues. And Alex Albon is at the side of the track. Just listening to Sebastian Vettel there as well, complimenting his team for the time being for at least getting that Aston Martin out there on the track. Here's replay of the collision between Latifi and Stroll. Yeah, I think both of them will be brought into an inquiry with the FIA after qualifying and before tomorrow and see what will happen. So yeah, FP2 was Leclerc, Verstappen, Sainz, Alonso, Perez, Ocon, Bottas, Norris, Gasly, Ricardo, Russell, Tsunoda, Hamilton, Stroll, Zhou Guanyu, Magnussen, Albon, Mick Schumacher, Latifi, and Vettel not setting a time at the end for FP2. And in FP3, Lando Norris was fastest, followed by Leclerc, Perez, Alonso, Sainz, Ricardo, Verstappen 7th, Hamilton, Bottas, Tsunoda, wrapping up the top 10. And then Russell, Gasly, Ocon, Mick Schumacher, Zhou Guanyu, Albon, Magnussen, Latifi, Stroll, and then Vettel. But no, looking at that incident between the two Canadians, altogether though, it just has been yet another frustrating weekend this season for both Williams and Aston Martin. So Q2 will start in 4 minutes' time. There is Daniel Ricciardo's McLaren. I'm just gonna look something up. Yeah, no, something I forgot to say that Crofty did mention a few minutes ago when Q1 ended. Excuse me, one moment, please. Okay, there we go. Yeah, I forgot to say that Alex Albon has received a 3-place grid penalty for tomorrow's race as a result of his late race move on Lance Stroll in Saudi Arabia last time out. And despite the incident putting him out of the race, the Williams driver said he wasn't regretful. So we get back underway in 2 minutes, 53 seconds. I'm going to listen to Good for Steiner a second. We look on with Esteban Ocon. Crofty loves to have a chat about other things, doesn't he? To be fair to Good for Steiner, he has just had his birthday, so he deserves every single minute of celebrations. And good on him. Unlike me, that's for sure, because I got punched in the face on Monday, which wasn't fun. Out of nowhere while I was trying to film in Southampton for my course. Anyway, here we go then. 15 seconds to go. We are about to start Q2. So my what I call so-called concentration glasses. Concentration glasses. It's probably the most ridiculous thing I've said in a long while, but anyway, we're going to be back underway here for Q2. Verstappen makes his way out. And Ted Kravitz has a voice break. Actually, I'm going to leave them off for the time being because they are a bit fogged up at the moment. So while I watch Verstappen, as Crofty mentions his usual Sky Glass customer announcement, Verstappen makes his way towards the Ascari corner. So we've got just over 13 and a half minutes left. We look at Lewis Hamilton. Mercedes have really struggled with pace this weekend. So I guess all their target is for today is to simply at least get into Q3. On board with the reigning world champion then. Right, into Clark goes Max Verstappen. Yeah, I'm going to get my glasses cleaner. I will be... It's in my bag, which is just over there. So I will be a few seconds. I can still see the screen anyway for the time being. Yeah, no, without the glasses on, it's not helping my eyesight, and hence why obviously this being early in the morning, my eyesight has not been very good at all. Jury, we've got a yellow flag for the time being. For some reason, I couldn't even find the bastard thing in there. Oh, I'll sort it later on. I can't be asked. That was a waste of time. Stupid idiot I am sometimes. It was an unsafe release from Pierre Gasly. So a pit lane incident involving Gasly reviewed. No further investigation. Unsafe release from AlphaTauri. Leclerc crosses the line. A 119.0 for him. His teammates slower in fourth spot, but the two Red Bulls are quickest at the moment. Is Fernando Alonso. I way prefer... Now, I will be honest, the Alpine is not one of my favourite liveries at all this season. However, I way prefer the actual livery of what they have, the blue and pink, compared to the pink livery that they used in the first 2 races of this season. Alonso goes second fastest. Superb from him. On board with Lewis Hamilton. Lewis is in a purple sector for sector 1. But he's only 8th fastest. And he's only 8th fastest. Here's George Russell. Just in front of his teammates as well in this replay. Just some bouncing from the Mercedes driver there from Norfolk. Of course, George is from Kings Lynn, just like former Formula 1 star Martin Brundle. And he overcooks it there, George Russell. Fair enough, Crofty. Saying somewhere over the rainbow is Mercedes' troubles. Verstappen goes slightly wide there, but he manages to hold it on. And Max does have DRS for the time being. Right, into Prost goes Max Verstappen. And now into the final corner of the circuit. His teammate Sergio Perez is fastest into sector 1. And Verstappen doesn't improve his time. However, of course, he is still fastest. But let's have a look at Sergio Perez. Oh, this looks fast. I think this could be fast. And he does go quickest. I was going to say, that looked really quick then from Sergio Perez. And Perez goes fastest, the 1:18.340. Yuri Vips watches on. Red Bull reserve driver. Watching on Perez and the reigning world champion Verstappen. Excuse me. Okay, just over 8 minutes to go. Here is Sergio Perez. Sparks coming out of the back of the Mexican driver's car there. As we see in the replay, here's on board with Hamilton. Hamilton not happy with Verstappen. Hamilton not happy with Verstappen. Here we go. Oh, Max. Max might be in trouble here. Lewis fuming with Verstappen. Lewis fuming with Verstappen there, saying that he was in the way and ruined his flying lap then. Verstappen's just said on the team radio, was Lewis on a flying lap? Which his race engineers just said, yep, he was. Which Verstappen's just sworn to himself about. So he's now worried. Max is now worried he might get a penalty, but bugger knows what will happen regarding that. Either way, though, Lewis was furious. So, just over 6 minutes to go here for Q2. Here is Carlos Sainz with his Scuderia Ferrari. The Spaniard makes his way towards turns 3 and 4. Coming out of turn 4 now, Carlos Sainz. And now out of Whitford's, out of turn 5, making his way towards 6 and 7. So with just over 5.5 minutes to go. The bottom 5 are Zhou Guanyu, Yuki Tsunoda. This is from 15th to 11th. Zhou Guanyu, Yuki Tsunoda, Mick Schumacher, Valtteri Bottas, and Esteban Ocon. And from top to bottom, Perez, Verstappen, Alonso, Leclerc, Norris, Russell, Ricardo, Sainz, Hamilton, and Gasly will make it into Q3. So both Red Bulls, both Ferraris, both McLarens, both Mercedeses, one Alpine and one AlphaTauri will make it into Q3. On board with Leclerc as Sergio Perez, the fastest man at the moment, is currently in the pits. I'm sure he will be making his way back out once more before the end of this Q2 session. So, excuse me. Perez will be investigated after the session, after qualifying today, for not slowing down during yellow flags. Here we go. Turn 11 incident involving Perez will be investigated after the session, failing to slow under yellow flags. On board with Carlos Sainz, going for another fast timed lap. As is Yuki Tsunoda, as is Pierre Gasly. He does look quick as well, that Ferrari of Carlos Sainz. The DRS showing as well. Okay, going into Stewart's and now into Prost, Carlos Sainz, and now the final corner of the circuit. Can Carlos Sainz get faster than the 2 Red Bulls? And here we go. No, he cannot go faster than the 2 Red Bulls. A 1:18.7 for Carlos Sainz. Faster than his teammate, faster than his compatriot Fernando Alonso, but slower than the 2 Red Bulls of Perez and Verstappen. On board with Valtteri Bottas. He's 12th fastest. He's going to be out of Q2 as things stand. Charles Leclerc's had a purple sector 1. And he goes faster than his teammates and faster than Verstappen. Leclerc second fastest behind Checo. Can Perez get on pole position again? Imagine if he does it 2 in a row. Although he had such an unlucky race in Saudi Arabia, as we all know. But tell you what, Perez looks the stronger out of the 2 Red Bulls at the moment, out between him and Verstappen. It's looking good for the Mexican driver at the moment. Excuse me. Okay. On board with Lewis Hamilton. 9th fastest. So my stream's just past the hour mark, which is how long qualifying usually takes anyway for a Formula 1 track. On board with Hamilton. One of the Alpines slows down. That's Esteban Ocon. Esteban Ocon now on the start home finish straight. Tsunoda's had a lap time deleted for exceeding track limits. 1 minute to go, and Esteban Ocon looks to make a fast lap here, and there is simply one target for the Alpine driver here, and that is to get out of that elimination zone. Currently in 11th spot, that will knock Esteban Ocon out of qualifying and out of Q2. The driver at risk, though, is his compatriot Pierre Gasly, just in front of him, who's currently 10th. The bottom five are Ocon, Bottas, Zhou Guanyu, Mick Schumacher, and Yuki Tsunoda. So both Alfa Romeos will be knocked out. One of the Alpha Tauris will be knocked out. One of the Alpines will be knocked out, and the sole remaining Haas of Mick Schumacher will be knocked out. I tell you what, though, Mick Schumacher has done an awful lot better than his teammate, though, this weekend. It has not been a good qualifying at all for Kevin Magnussen. And it's doubly disappointing for him. Ocon gets very close to the wall for the time being. And he's out. Ocon is out of the bottom five into the top 10. Gasly moves down to the bottom 10. And now Hamilton is at risk. Gasly stays 11th. So Hamilton's safe for the time being. Here's Daniel Ricciardo. Sainz, meanwhile, goes second fastest. Ricardo, 8th fastest. Hamilton is the driver at risk. The crowd applauds Daniel Ricciardo. Tsunoda doesn't make it through into Q3. A 1:19 for Yuki Tsunoda. Neither does Bottas. Hamilton goes faster than Ricardo, so Lewis will be safe into Q3. So yeah, Bottas's run comes to an end. He's made it into Q3 every session so far, both rounds so far this season, but this time Valtteri is out of Q2. Mick Schumacher then is 15th, Zhou Guanyu's 14th, Tsunoda's 13th, Bottas is 12th, Gasly 11th. So the two Red Bulls, the two Ferraris, the two McLarens, the two Mercedes and the two Alpines make it into Q3. And it's Esteban Ocon who makes it into Q3 from that elimination zone and knocking his compatriot Pierre Gasly out in the process. This is on board with Yuki Tsunoda, Gasly's teammate, overcooking his Alpha Tauri and going wide. Not good for him. Here's on board with Lewis Hamilton. Hamilton also going slightly wide, but he still has DRS and manages to hold on. But yeah, that's good news for Lewis that he's got through into Q3. Let's hear Charles. On board with George Russell. Just going past the traffic there. As he made his way into turns 15 and 16. Yeah, Mick Schumacher is out. So, really, we've got 5 teams left. Alpine, McLaren, Mercedes, Red Bull and Ferrari. Both Alpha Tauris are out. Both Alfa Romeos are out. Both Haas's are out. Both Williamses are out. And both Aston Martins are out. So let's, now that we're on the advert break, let's see if I've had any comment updates that I'd like to read while we wait for Q3 to start. No, nothing. Nothing for the time being. So, nothing F1 related for the time being. So, just got Q3 to go, and then that's it. So yeah, no, I was just gonna say after that Q2 session then, after that Q2 session then, Gasly was the one that didn't progress, and Ocon was the one that did progress. Ocon made it through into Q3, knocking his compatriot Pierre Gasly out in the process. Obviously, they're both of the French drivers, not just from France, but they're both from Normandy as well, with Esteban Ocon, of course, being from Evro. Pierre Gasly, on the other hand, is from Rouen. So, Q3 just to go now. Charles Leclerc, these are the 10 remaining. Charles Leclerc, championship leader, 45 points. Carlos Sainz, second in the championship, 33 points. Max Verstappen, reigning world champion, third in the championship, 25 points. George Russell, fourth in the standings, 22 points. Lewis Hamilton, fifth in the world championship, 16 points. Esteban Ocon, sixth in the championship, 14 points. Sergio Perez, seventh in the championship, 12 points. Lando Norris, 10th in the world championship, 6 points. As Lewis Hamilton complains that the sun is in his eyes, but what can you do? You can't help the weather, Lewis. You can't beat the weather. And the same goes with you, Max. Like, I totally get that the sun being so bright is a problem for the drivers, but you can't beat the weather. Like, I understand it's frustrating for them, but it's something I wouldn't really complain about on team radio because you can't beat the weather. I mean, if it was like a horrible race, like in horrible monsoon-ish raining conditions and standing water on the track, I completely understand because that's dangerous. I mean, yes, the sun is dangerous as well, but it's not. I don't think it's as dangerous as standing water. But I do understand at the same time why they're complaining about it because, of course, the sun could be that bright and could be dangerous for the drivers there in Australia. But yeah, Leclerc, what was I saying? Leclerc, Sainz, Verstappen, Russell, Hamilton, Ocon, Perez, Lando Norris. Yeah, he's through. 6 points, Lando Norris, 10th in the World Championship. Fernando Alonso, 13th in the World Championship. Only 2 points. Of course, he was really unlucky in Saudi Arabia, Fernando Alonso, because he was having a terrific drive as well. And then Daniel Ricciardo, 19th. Okay, sorry, my bad. Well, yeah, Daniel Ricciardo hasn't scored a point yet this season. 14th and then retired in Saudi Arabia. Could tomorrow's race in Australia be different for the home star? Yeah. 6 drivers haven't scored a point yet this season. Mick Schumacher, Lance Stroll, Alex Albon, Daniel Ricciardo, Nicholas Latifi, and of course Sebastian Vettel, because of course he missed the first 2 rounds due to COVID, and he is back this weekend. And of course, his replacement driver in the first 2 rounds, Nico Hulkenberg, he hasn't scored points either this season. So yeah, here we go then. Just over 11 and a half minutes to go then here for Q3. Two Red Bulls, 2 Mercedes, 2 Ferraris, 2 McLarens, and 2 Alpines left. Only 5 teams remaining here for Q3. A French team, a German team, an Austrian team, an Italian team, and a British team, even though 4 of those teams are British-based and one of them is, of course, Italian-based from Maranello, obviously being Ferrari. We're on board with one of the Ferraris now. So 11 minutes to go here for Q3. So here's Max Verstappen. Max Verstappen making his way into the final corner of the circuit, and he will surely be, the reigning world champion will surely be starting a flying lap time here. So here we go then. Max Verstappen going past the first two corners, Brabham and Jones. And now going into turn 3 and then making his way past turn 4, the left-hander, and then into Whitford, turn 5. Now on the straight by the Albert Road into turn 6 and 7. Whisking his way through turn 8 and then heading into Clark, turn 9. And now right by the Albert Park Lake to turns 10 into 11 and 12. In fact, Verstappen looks very quick here for his lap time here because he is purple in both sectors 1 and 2 as he leaves the Ascari corner into Stewart's goes Max Verstappen. He is purple in sectors 1 and 2, although he does lock up. He does lock up at Prost, but it has looked promising in the first 2 sectors for Max Verstappen. That lockup might have ruined his lap there, but let's see what his time is. A 1:18.399 for the reigning world champion. So what can his teammate do about that? Sergio Perez crosses the line with DRS, and he does go faster than Max. 1:18.398 for Sergio Perez. He is just closer. Just beaten his teammate there. Here's Daniel Ricardo. Lewis Hamilton goes 3rd fastest. He's 10 seconds off the pace of the Red Bulls, Lewis Hamilton. 10 seconds. Even Ocon's faster than him. Shocking from the Mercedes team there from Hamilton. 10 seconds off the pace of not just the Red Bulls, but Ricardo and Ocon as well. I think Hamilton could be 10th or 9th on the grid here, him and Russell, depending on if that Mercedes car improves. But either way, that's a really disappointing lap time there for Hamilton. He's going to have another crack at it, Lewis Hamilton. You know what's so funny, though, is that he has been on pole position at this track for the last 5 rounds. From 2015 all the way to 2019. This man, Lewis Hamilton, has been on pole. And that Mercedes of his, as well as himself, of course, has been in a class of his own during those 5 seasons. Despite, of course, losing that 2016 World Championship to Nico Rosberg at Abu Dhabi. So here we go. Here is Hamilton coming out of turn 16 onto the start-finish straight. Lewis Hamilton goes 6th fastest. Still a lot better. But however, yeah, that is a lot better than his previous lap time. Alonso's on a cracking lap time, though. No! Oh! As Leclerc goes fastest, and it's a red flag. Oh, Alonso I was just about to say how well he was doing. A cracking lap time there from Fernando Alonso. He's purple into sector 2 as well. Down he goes and crashes out just after the Ascari bend. What a shame for the double world champion of 2005 and 2006. That's got to be gutting for Fernando. The man from Oviedo in Spain has just crashed. He goes in too deep. And that front left tyre. He goes deep into the corner there, Fernando Alonso. That's gutting for him. Otmar Schnaufer looks on. Oh, he was looking really good as well, Fernando. been so unlucky, hasn't he? First of all, he was so unlucky in Saudi Arabia. He was having a fantastic drive, Fernando Alonso, and then only for a technical problem with his Alpine to be and was therefore out of the race because of that. And now, after looking to do a fast lap time here, Fernando Alonso, he was purple in sector 2 as well. Fernando Alonso walks away in disbelief. Charles Leclerc comes into the pits, as does Carlos Sainz. Leclerc's the fastest man at the moment with a 1:18. But we have got a second red flag here. A second red flag here. Excuse me. We have a second red flag here in Albert Park here for qualifying. As Leclerc goes back into the pits. Meanwhile, here's a replay of Carlos Sainz. Let's listen to him. Oh, he'll fuming there. Gutted he sounds there, Carlos Sainz, because the red flag came out from Alonso's crash as soon as Carlos crossed the line. As soon as Carlos crossed the line. So, poor Alonso. I wonder what's going through his head right now. Unlucky in Saudi Arabia, and then unlucky this qualifying session here today in Australia. But however, it is obviously the race that counts. Either way, though, that's going to be gutting for him because he'll surely, if he can't restart, as Matteo Binotto, the team principal of Ferrari, watches on, if Alonso can't get his car going in time with just under 7 minutes to go here of Q3, then he will qualify 10th on the grid. On board with the championship leader. Leclerc crosses the line. And he was safely over the line before the red flag, unlike his teammates. So, let's see if I've had any comments while I'm watching the red flag. No, nothing for the time being. So, second red flag of today in qualifying. Alonso is on the scooter. Here is on board with Fernando Alonso once more. Oh, nice morning, Southampton. Anyway, I'm just going to listen to Karun a second. He's borrowed Sebastian Vettel's scooter to get back in the pit lane. Alonso's car carried away by the marshals and as well as craned away by the JCB digger. Otmar Schnaufer watches on. You can't believe it. You can't believe it. Right, well, the FIA have announced that the session will resume at 5:25 p.m. local time, which is 8:25 a.m. in the UK. So that is 6 minutes away. Here's a replay of Charles Leclerc. Provisional pole at the moment, it will be for the Monegasque driver. A 1:18.239 for your race winner of Bahrain, the opening round of the season. Here's another replay of Latifi and Stroll. Just a complete misunderstanding between the two. I mean, the reason why I say that's more Stroll's fault though, because Latifi literally goes past him and he sees. I mean, yes, he does move over slightly beforehand towards the right, but he sees Latifi go past him. He's like, "Oh yeah, I'm just going to move over to the right and bugger it up," and he's done. But Latifi's put the blame on Stroll. Let's see what Stroll says. So I'm listening to Stroll at the moment. So yeah. Sounds very frustrated, doesn't he, Lance Stroll? It's just been yet another disastrous weekend so far for the Aston Martin team in general. Both them and Williams, in all honesty, they have not looked good for a third weekend in a row so far. And I would say they are the two worst teams in the whole paddock at the moment. Two of the three worst teams with McLaren as well so far this year. However, McLaren have massively improved this weekend so far. So now it depends on how they do at the end of Q3. Ricardo's fourth fastest at the moment, which is brilliant for McLaren. And it will be Daniel Ricciardo's best qualifying since Spa last year. If the Australian, the homeboy, qualifies fourth on the grid, which is where he currently is at the moment. But yeah, McLaren may have had a disappointing start to the season. However, they have looked better all season so far, and and both cars have made it into Q3. They are both looking brilliant this weekend. And now it's the two Hasses who don't look as good this weekend because Kevin Magnussen got knocked out of Q1. Mick Schumacher knocked out of Q2. But no, the McLarens look much better this weekend, Ricardo and Norris. So yeah, the two teams realistically that have just looked awful all season so far are Aston Martin and Williams. They have both got so much work to do. As the rest of this season will progress, as it will go along. So we've got a minute and a half in 3 seconds coming. Now a minute and a half to go until Q3 restarts, and we will find out who will take pole position for our first Australian Grand Prix here at Albert Park in Melbourne since 2019, and our first pole sitter at this track since Lewis Hamilton for Mercedes in 2019. And then tomorrow, of course, we will find out who our first race winner is here in Australia after 2 years of not having Albert Park due to coronavirus restrictions and worries. Our last race winner here, of course, was Valtteri Bottas in 2019. Valtteri Bottas knocked out in Q2. And it now depends if he has one hell of a good race tomorrow from the midfield. So 30 seconds to go, and we will be back underway, restarting. Okay, then. So who will it be? Will it be a Ferrari, a Red Bull, a McLaren, a Mercedes, or an Alpine? Most likely, it'll be either a Ferrari or Red Bull on pole position, but you never know in motor racing. You never know. Imagine if McLaren pulls something out of the bag at the end. That would be amazing for them and for the sport, obviously, as well. Especially the disappointing start they've had. So the two Mercedes go out of pit lane and will take a lap round this Albert Park circuit before making their fast laps. Lewis Hamilton and George Russell. Ugh. Excuse me. So, I'm just going to take a drink a second. Here's one of the Red Bulls in the pit lane, just warming up those tyres, looking about to come out. It is Sergio Perez. Crofty has just confirmed. On board with George Russell. Let's hear his team radio. George Russell frustrated, not happy, saying his teammate Lewis Hamilton is going very slow. So yeah, George Russell frustrated with Lewis Hamilton's pace there. Hamilton uses DRS and he starts his outlap. Perez is also on his outlap now. Well, Hamilton and Russell are now going to do their fast laps. Charles Leclerc makes his way out of the pit lane. Meanwhile, here is Sergio Perez. He's never started higher than 9th, Sergio Perez. So if he gets faster than 9th, Sergio Perez, which most likely he will, then this will be Checo's best ever qualifying here at Albert Park. Here's George Russell's radio once more. He's fuming with Lewis. Tell Lewis to speed up, he's saying. Perez uses DRS there for the time being. As he makes his way towards the Prost corner, the left-hander, turn 15, into the final corner at turn 16. Or turn 14, as they'd say on Sky Sports there. But Perez cannot beat Leclerc's fastest time there. Oh, not quite for Checo. He is second fast. Excuse me. He is second fastest, though, ahead of his teammate, which I guess will be the Mexican driver's only satisfaction for the time being. No. It's really bizarre because it says on Sky Sports that the last corner before the start home finish straight is turn 14. Yet on my circuit map on my other computer, on my laptop, it says it's turn 16. So I don't know which way I'm going to say it. I'm just going to say what I feel is right. Anyway, Lewis Hamilton goes 6th fastest. George Russell goes 4th fastest, moving ahead of Daniel Ricardo. And Daniel Ricardo is now on the 3rd row, 5th fastest for him. Excuse me. Here's a replay of Lewis Hamilton. I think that's the best I've seen Mercedes so far all weekend here at Albert Park. Even though Lewis did slightly go wide there, he managed to keep hold of it. Max Verstappen uses DRS. And he uses DRS once more, the reigning world champion. He's heading in towards turns 3 and 4. And Ted Kravitz has just said that Leclerc's got a problem. Oh. Well, Ted Kravitz has just said that Leclerc had a problem, but Crofty has just said that he is on a lap now. So, thank God for Leclerc that he is going to set a lap time at least. Otherwise, his provisional pole position would be at risk. We've got 37 seconds to go here for Q3. Here is Max Verstappen. He will want to make an impression on the two in front of him, Leclerc and Perez. Here we go then. Here's Verstappen. Last corner of the circuit. You see how close he gets to the wall there. What's Max going to do here? And he's fastest. Max Verstappen's on provisional pole. And Carlos Sainz cannot go faster. Carlos Sainz is 9th. What has happened to Carlos? He's down in 9th spot. He gone off the track at turn 6. That's why Carlos Sainz is down in 9th spot. He has just got time for one more flying lap, though. Lando Norris goes 4th. Charles Leclerc goes top. Leclerc will take pole position for the time being, and Leclerc does go faster than Verstappen. To the delight of the Ferrari garage there. Carlos Sainz down in 9th spot, which doesn't look good for him at all. At the moment, it will be Sainz alongside his compatriot Fernando Alonso on that 5th row of the grid. We're now on board with Lewis Hamilton. Lewis Hamilton is 5th fastest ahead of his teammate George Russell. So the 3 Brits are all next to each other in 4th, 5th and 6th. Norris 4th. Brilliant qualifying for Norris. Hamilton 5th. Russell 6th. Leclerc's on pole. Brilliant qualifying for Charles Leclerc. Jubilation for his side of the garage. It'll be commiserations for his teammates' side of the garage. Carlos Sainz is 9th on the grid. A disappointing qualifying at the end then for the Spaniard. He's alongside his compatriot Fernando Alonso on that 5th row of the grid. Carlos made a mistake under pressure and he will be 9th on the grid. So it's Leclerc, Verstappen, Perez, Norris, Hamilton, Russell, Ricardo, Ocon, Sainz, Alonso. So Carlos Sainz has produced Ferraris, one of the Ferrari drivers' worst qualifying of the season so far. Still a long way to go, though, in 2022. But this is Ferrari's first pole position here since Kimi Räikkönen all the way back in 2007. But Leclerc is on pole with the 2 Red Bulls starting behind him for tomorrow's race. But Lando Norris is on the 2nd row of the grid. Brilliant qualifying for him. So Lando getting the better of the home start, Daniel Ricciardo, at the end then for the end here of Q3 and the end of qualifying in general. But Ricardo may be slightly disappointed being beaten by the 2 Mercedes of Lewis Hamilton and George Russell. But either way, Hamilton, Russell, Ricardo, Norris and Ocon have all taken advantage of Carlos Sainz's misfortune there. Carlos Sainz starting 9th position alongside Fernando Alonso on that 5th row of the grid. But jubilation for the other man at Ferrari. Charles Leclerc will be starting tomorrow's race here at Albert Park on pole position. And it's the 2 title favourites of this season so far, Leclerc and Verstappen, on that front row of the grid, with Sergio Perez and Lando Norris just behind them. But no, what I was going to say was Ricardo might be slightly disappointed at the end there with his qualifying. But either way, this has been by far McLaren's best qualifying of the season so far. And they look so much better than they have done all season so far. And it is brilliant to see them back. Hopefully for them, they can have a brilliant race tomorrow. So I'm going to end the live stream in a second because it is the end of qualifying. So I am going to read you out. I'm going to read you out the qualifying results and what will be the grid for the time being for tomorrow's race. So let's have a look. No, I don't want practice 3. I want fucking qualifying. Stupid thing. No. Okay. So no, not quite the pole position that Sergio Perez would have hoped that he got in Saudi Arabia, but still, 3rd place, still decent for him. But he's either way, he probably won't be happy that he's been beaten by his teammate once more. To be fair, though, Max Verstappen is the reigning world champion. Anyway, so this is the grid for tomorrow for the time being. Bottom is Lance Stroll, dead last on the grid. 19th is Nicholas Latifi. So the 2 Canadians bring up the rear for tomorrow's race. Although that will change because Albon has got a 3-place grid penalty. But either way, though, disappointing, disastrous qualifying for the 2 Canadians, Stroll and Latifi, in dead last and in 19th spots. 18th is Sebastian Vettel on board the Aston Martin, completing a miserable weekend for the Aston Martin team. 17th is Kevin Magnussen. Magnussen's worst qualifying of the season so far. And in general, it's Haas's worst qualifying of the season so far. 16th, Alex Albon in the Williams. But Albon has received a 3-place grid penalty for tomorrow's race as a result of his late race move on Lance Stroll. Excuse me, last time out in Saudi Arabia. And because of the free place grid penalty, Albon will start tomorrow's race down in 19th spot. So Albon will be at the back with Stroll, but the bottom four are the two Aston Martins and the Williamses. So therefore, it'll be Stroll 20th, Albon 19th, Latifi 18th, Vettel 17th, Magnussen 16th because of Albon's free place grid penalty. So yeah, that just completes a miserable start to the season once again for both Aston Martin and Williams. Mick Schumacher 15th on board the Haas. 14th is Zhou Guanyu on the Alfa Romeo. 13th, Yuki Tsunoda, Alpha Tauri. 12th, Valtteri Bottas, Alfa Romeo, your last race winner at Albert Park in 2019. 11th, Pierre Gasly, Alpha Tauri. And now the top 10. 10th, Fernando Alonso, Alpine. What a shame for Fernando Alonso. He's so unlucky once again, this time in qualifying, though. 9th, his compatriot, Carlos Sainz. What a disastrous end of Q3 there for Carlos Sainz. Unfortunately, not quite getting what he wanted, and he has got work to do for tomorrow's race down in 9th place. So what can he do from 9th on the grid tomorrow, Sainz, to catch up with the leaders on board that Ferrari? So Carlos Sainz is 9th. 8th is Esteban Ocon, Alpine. 7th is Daniel Ricciardo, McLaren. 6th is George Russell, Mercedes. 5th is Lewis Hamilton, Mercedes. George Russell absolutely seething with his teammate Lewis Hamilton during Q3 then, saying that Lewis wasn't speeding up while George was trying to put in some laps because Lewis and George were literally qualifying, doing their outlaps pretty much next to each other. But the three Brits are together in 6th, 5th and 4th because Lando Norris on board the other McLaren is 4th, completing McLaren's superb qualifying compared to the first two rounds of the season. Brilliant qualifying this has been for McLaren, with Daniel Ricciardo 7th and Lando Norris 4th, given the pace that McLaren had during both Bahrain and Saudi Arabia. And this weekend has looked much more promising for Zach Brown's team, with Lando Norris 4th, Daniel Ricciardo 7th. So yeah, Lando Norris is 4th. Sergio Perez is 3rd for Red Bull. 2nd is the reigning world champion, Max Verstappen, Red Bull. But your pole sitter for tomorrow's race is the Ferrari, the Monegasque driver of your championship leader. The championship leader, Charles Leclerc, will be starting tomorrow's race in Australia at Albert Park on pole position. It's the championship leader on pole with the reigning world champion alongside him on that front row. And of course, Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen are the only two racers to win races so far this season. Of course, Charles Leclerc winning in Bahrain at the season opener, and then Max Verstappen winning last time out in Saudi Arabia. And they will be the two up front for tomorrow's race, and most likely the two favourites for tomorrow's race as well. So yeah, that is the end of qualifying. I'm just going to check the comment section one more time before I finish. No, nothing new. So yeah, I'm ending it there. Thank you to anyone who listened to this. And yeah, I'm off. I'll see you tomorrow for the race. Cheerio.